Get ready for 3 Anthropologie-inspired DIYs. It's that vibe you're going for at a price you won't believe. And as always, DIY treats. Welcome to my channel, Craft, Eat, Repeat. Hi guys, it's Aneka and welcome to my channel, Craft, Eat, Repeat. So I've been scrolling through the Anthropologie website again, looking at things that I really can't afford, but getting a lot of inspiration for some DIYs. So today's video is full of DIYs that aren't exactly dupes, but they're inspired by some of the things that I saw on the Anthropologie website, and I really hope you enjoy them. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. Everyone, hit that bell so you'll be notified when my next video comes out. And after the video is over, head down to the comments and let me know which DIY was your favorite, or of course you can just say hi and give this video a thumbs up. Also, I am trying to up my Instagram game because so many of you guys have asked me how you can show me the things that you're making at home, and that's honestly one of my favorite parts of having a YouTube channel, is just seeing what other people are creating and what they're making. So head over to Instagram or Facebook and find me there. It's Craft, Eat, Repeat in both places, and that way you can let me know and show me what you've been working on. I'll be so excited to see it. Okay guys, it's time to craft. Now my first Anthropologie inspiration piece is this bowl. I loved the rope around the top, I loved the muted colors, but I was not crazy about the price. So I got this bowl from Dollar Tree, and I didn't really like that piece on the bottom either, so I just decided to make just a regular bowl. I cut a piece of extra ribbon I had, and I marked off dots about every 2 inches along the rim of the bowl. And then I used my drill to just go ahead and carefully drill some holes into my bowl. After I had my holes drilled, there was some plastic that was kind of poking out the other side, so I just used my X-Acto knife to go ahead and flatten that out to make it look nice and neat. And then I was ready to spray paint it. Once it was spray painted, I was ready to add all the little touches that I love so much. So I used this nautical rope from Dollar Tree, and as you'll see, I put it on the top first, but I didn't really like the look of it, so I took it off and decided to start right below the rim of the bowl. So in order to attach my nautical rope, I just put some hot glue in between each of the holes that I drilled into my bowl. I didn't want to glue over the holes, I didn't want that rope to be covering them, so I just put a little bit of hot glue in between and then put my rope there. I went around 1 complete time, and then making sure not to cover the hole, I did the same thing for the next time around. I put the hot glue in between each hole, making sure that I did not glue over where that hole was. I went around 3 times the same way, making sure never to glue over the point where the hole would be drilled, and I thought that was enough with the proportions of the bowl and the rope. Of course, you can go around as many times as you'd like. Next, I grabbed some of this white raffia, and to make it easier to get through the hole, I just put a little tape at the end so that I could go ahead and thread it through the hole. Now you could also use white yarn or white nautical rope if you'd like. Whatever color or style of twine you'd like to use, you can do that. So I'm just threading this through, and because I did not glue where the hole was, I have a nice space where I can go ahead and loop this raffia through all of my ropes, making little loops all the way around each one. I completed that for each hole that I had drilled into my bowl, and then just to finish this off so it looked nice on the inside as it did on the outside, I went ahead and put one more piece of rope all the way around the inside to cover up where my little pieces of raffia ended. I did end up putting little dabs of hot glue to hold that raffia onto the bowl just to make sure that it didn't shift as I use and move my bowl around. Next, I'm just going to put a little bit of brown right on the bottom of this bowl. Now the inspiration piece had a little bit of a different shape and the bottom was brown, but I didn't like that extra piece on the bottom. And this is something you can barely see, but I know it's there, and I love details like that. If you're looking very closely, you can see that little bit on the bottom. I absolutely love how this came out. I love the simplicity of it, the beautiful lines, and the muted colors. Up next, I saw this candle on the Anthropologie website and I loved the texture of it. I thought it looked so unique, but I wasn't sure how I was going to make it until I saw a DIY video by Justin Ray. I'm going to make sure to link his channel down in the description box. He made this hammer steel looking planter, but it gave me an idea of how I could put this together. So definitely check him out. So I used this jar that I got from Dollar Tree and I went ahead and scuffed it up a little bit just to make sure that my DAP caulk would stick to it a little bit better. They do have caulk at Dollar Tree. I just used some that I already had at the house, but you can definitely get some at the Dollar Tree. You might need 2 because those containers are a little bit smaller than what you would get at Walmart or Lowe's or Home Depot. So I just went ahead and put the caulk all over this jar, and I did about 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep of the caulk, so all over. Very messy, but kind of fun DIY. Next, I went through with some water and just smoothed everything out. I also smoothed out the bottom and the top. Now, just a helpful hint, when you're picking this up, make sure you pick it straight up, otherwise you kind of get your sides all messy again. Now I'm just going to use some wood beads that I have, but you can use anything that you have that's kind of rounded or a shape that you like. And I'm just going to dip it in the water and I'm just going to make little shapes all over my jar. Now what I want is to make craters, so to speak. So I want those edges to be nice and raised. That's what's going to give me the texture that I was drawn to in the inspiration piece. So if you're doing this and you're noticing that the caulk is coming up with each time that you're dipping it, then you need to just go ahead and dip it in the water again, and it should move to the side and create craters instead of pulling the caulk off of the jar. Now I did this all over, and make sure that you're ready to get your hands and your workspace messy because this was definitely a fun but messy DIY. The thing that I love about it too is that there's really no wrong way to do this. You just kind of make shapes all over and this is what you come out with. Now it's okay if some of them aren't perfect, but you're just going to go ahead and let this dry. I did have to turn it over so that the bottom would dry too, but after about 4 to 5 hours it was dry and it was ready to paint. I went ahead and used the same spray paint and I only used 1 coat. This way if I put a candle in there, it's not too thick and you'll still be able to see through it. But I really love the texture and the dimension in this. Next, I used some of this metallic paint that I got from Walmart, and I'm just going to go over all the raised edges to just give it a little more definition. Now at first I was just getting a little bit of paint on my paintbrush and basically dry brushing it on those edges, but then I found out that if you load your paintbrush up with paint and kind of dabble it on there, it actually looks a lot better and it's a lot easier to make a nice and neat raised edge. And that's it. I love how this came out. The texture is so unique, the shapes are so cool, and I am just in love with how this looks. Now for the next DIY, I did this tribal global looking boho wall art that I also found on the Anthropologie website. I loved the look of it and I wanted to try to recreate it. So I used just 1 ring off of a wreath form that I already have. I have pieces of wreath forms laying all over my house because I take them apart all the time. And I also used this adult size grass skirt that I got from Dollar Tree. Now I did end up using about half of this grass skirt, so you could probably cut more of them off than one at a time. When I was doing this, I wasn't sure how many I was going to use, so I'll save you the trouble and you can just go ahead and chop a bunch off all at once. Now I'm going to take one piece of the grass and I'm just going to start wrapping it around my wire wreath form, and I'm going to cover the entire thing. And now we're ready to create the main part of this wall art. So I went ahead and I took about 6 strands of grass each for each one of these little bundles that I'm going to put on my wire wreath form. Now you can use a little bit less if you want yours to look less full, or you could use more if you want an even bushier and bigger look to your wall art. So I'm going to use 6 and I just folded it right over the wreath form. So I tried to get it about even, but I'm going to trim some off the bottom so it's not imperative that it's exactly even. And now I'm going to grab the twine. This wouldn't be a Craft, Eat, Repeat DIY without twine. I love this stuff. So instead of the black that they used in the inspiration piece, I'm going to go for these more muted colors. So what I did was put a little bit of hot glue and glued it to the back of my bundle. I wrapped it around twice, and then I'm going to take 2 strands of grass each, and I'm going to put 2 off to the right and 2 off to the left. And then I'm going to take my twine and wrap around the middle pieces that I still have remaining 2 times. Then again, I'm going to take out 2 pieces, put 2 to the left and 2 to the right. And I'm going to wrap my twine again around the remaining pieces that I have in my hand. Each time I wrap, I get just slightly tighter, and these last 2 should be pretty tight, and that's going to make it look kind of like an upside down triangle shape with the point at the very bottom if you pull it nice and tight. After I've got it looking the way I want it to, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off and put a little hot glue. And that completes my first little bundle of grass. Now I did about 26 of these. Of course, the amount that you do is going to depend on the size of your wreath form and how much you want on there. After I got all of mine on there, I just spread them out. I just gave just a little bit of space between each one, but I wanted them to stay there. So I put a little dab of hot glue on the back just to make sure they stayed where I wanted them to stay. Once I had that done, I went ahead and I trimmed up the bottom, and this part was kind of fun, but it also reminded me of why no one should ever at any time trust me to cut their hair. It would not look great. But I love DIYs where messy is kind of the name of the game and it doesn't have to look perfect. Then I wanted to trim up the side, so I counted 8 in and I just kind of eyeballed it, and from about 8 pieces on up, I trimmed up the sides, making them a little shorter on the top than they are on the bottom. And then when I went to do the other side, I counted 8 again, and that just helped me to make sure that it looked somewhat symmetrical. But once again, this doesn't have to be perfect, and that's part of what I love about this wall art. Now the inspiration piece did not have this, but you guys know I love some wood beads, so I wanted to add just a few on there just to give another little visual interest point to my project and to add some elements that I love, namely twine and wood beads. So I went ahead and just tied a piece of twine onto the top. Once again, I used some tape to just tape it off to make it easier to fit through the holes of the beads. And then I put 3 different sizes of beads right onto my twine. Once I had those on there, I was able to tie off one knot right above my wood beads, and then I tied another one about an inch up, and that gave me just a little hole that I could use to hang my wall art. And you guys, I love how this came out. I love how the colors with the twine are just a little less severe than the black in the inspiration piece. I love how the grass kind of dangles and is a little softer than the straw in the inspiration piece, but it still has that global vibe, and it's definitely a statement piece for any decor. And I barely paid $2 for this beautiful piece of art. Okay guys, that bowl was so simple and I love the lines of it. I love the rope and twine. As you guys know, that's my favorite. And so I love how simple that was. But the technique of using that caulk was super fun. And I didn't get a picture of it, but I actually dropped an artificial candle down into that glass vase, and it's just translucent enough to see the light shining through, and it's gorgeous. So I think one of those is my favorite. Head down to the comments and let me know which DIY was your favorite. So today's treat is just a reminder of an old childhood classic for some of you guys. And if it's new to you, then you're welcome, because you are gonna love this and it's so easy to make. But these hot summer days called for gathering my kids together and having them help me to make a cool summer treat. So I really hope you enjoy it. All right, guys, it's time to eat. So today I have two of the most adorable helpers with me, but they're also pretty fidgety. So if you see the camera shaking, that is why. They were bumping all over the place. But I'm just gonna start out with a packet of vanilla pudding. Of course, you could use any flavor that you want. And I'm just going to make the pudding per the instructions on the back of the box. Once I have my pudding completed, I'm going to grab some sprinkles, and I'm just using these Dixie cups to make these because that's how I always had them as a child. Of course, you could use a popsicle maker if you'd like, or a popsicle mold. What's a popsicle maker? I don't even know. But you can put the sprinkles in the bottom, and then I just added some sprinkles into the pudding as well. Next, we're just going to put our pudding into our cups. And I like to fill mine about halfway. If you're feeling brave and you want a big one, you can fill it all the way up. It helps to have some little hands to clean the sprinkles up off the table and eat them, of course. And then we're just going to stick our popsicle sticks right in. I'm going to freeze these for at least 4 hours, and when they come out, they're creamy and delicious, and you will love them. I hope you enjoyed all the DIYs I had for you today. Please head down to the comments and let me know which one was your favorite. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time when we repeat it all again.